Hey Sprint Squad, it's Max, and it's the end of day 26 of the AI sprints. It's time for some project updates, and as always on the AI sprint, a lot has happened since the last update. First up, we launched Email Spy on Product Hunt yesterday. Once again, I want to give a big shout out to Oscar for all the work he did on launch day and in preparation for that. I'll be honest, Email Spy wasn't some sort of viral success. We didn't get tens of thousands of people using it. But as of right now, there's over 190 unique URLs that were ran through it. And I got qualitative feedback from folks saying, hey, this was interesting. This helped me understand the capabilities of this tool. I might clone this and duplicate it for some serious scraping use cases I have for my job. And if you look at the first AI Sprint video, that's what this is all about. It's about having people go, wow, this is feasible. You know, in a matter of hours or days, I could build something useful or something that's enlightening. So with that being said, I think it was a great success. Now you can duplicate the project. There was a little bit of a delay in getting the front end in a way where you can duplicate it, but that's now published to GitHub and it's in the official Email Spy duplicate page. So again, the whole project can be duplicated there. There's the puppeteer part of the workflow that isn't made public yet. I think what I'm gonna do is take the Email Spy backend workflow and make a simplified version that just uses one method. So that's just the file crawl approach. That way folks can set up just a few credentials when they duplicate that template and check it out, and then look at the original template if they want to create their own multi-approach strategy, which again could be a combination of AI methods or traditional scraping methods. And then this week, Oscar and I got on a call in preparation for the launch where he went through his backend workflow and explained how it works. So later in the video, I've also got a cut down of that where he walks us through the workflow. If you have any more specific questions as you're looking at that, or you're looking at the workflow yourself, make sure to ask in the comments because I can ask Oscar before the sprint is up. You can get on another call and answer more specific questions. One thing that happened last week that I didn't have a chance to edit down yet was the interview with Oleg, our AI engineer. Later in this video, you can get a cut down of that where he talks through some of the things happening in the AI space right now, including some new models that dropped recently. So if you're interested in hearing about that, make sure to keep watching the rest of the video. And then once Email Spy launched and was underway, I had a chance to publish the Hey Siri template today. You can download it off n8n.io, and that comes with the Apple Shortcuts companion workflow. So there's an Apple Shortcuts workflow and an n8n workflow. The Apple Shortcut lets you do the Hey Siri part, and it sends along whatever you dictated to the n8n workflow. And then in the n8n workflow, I've got a really simple AI agent that takes that text and replies. There was a few details in the template, like the exact format to send it back so that Siri says it. So I handled all that for you, but it's a great starter kit for any kind of Hey Siri-like template that you'd like to run inside n8n. So in that template, I show also how you could pipe in real-world context to the AI agent. I do it with a really simple example where basically in the system prompt, I tell it the day, where in the system message, I use some very basic JavaScript using the now variable. So that basically tells it what time it is right now. And well, actually, let's just show you. Hey Siri, AI agent.
Here's what I...
All right, what did I call it? Ask agent. Hey Siri, ask agent.
What's the text?
What time is it right now?
Message. The requested webhook post assistant is not registered. Hint. Must be active for success.
Okay,
You can...
so it's not working because I didn't activate my workflow. For anyone that's a power user of n8n, that'll probably be particularly funny to you. The workflow's not activated. So that's why the demo's not working. However, it did show that n8n is responding to Siri because anyone that knows what was being dictated by Siri, that's an n8n error. But in any case, I digress. TLDR is, it's a really basic workflow template, so it doesn't do anything particularly fancy other than having whatever you say to Siri go into the AI agent, and then whatever the AI agent outputs going back to Siri, and has some light prompting so that Siri is concise, doesn't output things like new line characters. So really, it's ready for you to go in there and add context. So the kinds of things you could do, for example, is slap a Notion node before the Siri one, perhaps pull some details and pipe that into your system message, and adding context. You could obviously add tools to the AI agent as well. It could search Wikipedia, for example, or your own CRM or something. So an AI agent, something like Hey Siri, and then you ask about a certain contact, and it goes searches that and returns that. Should be pretty simple for you to knock out now that all the basics are there. Since it's just a basic template, I was talking about this Siri use case with Devin Kearns, because he's one of our awesome community members that I didn't have a chance to formally build something with during the sprint. So, Devin, your challenge, if you choose to accept it, is take my Hey Siri template and use that as inspiration to ship a really cool Siri template. You're working with customers every day on these kinds of use cases, so I'm sure you've got plenty of inspiration for that. This would be a great time to mention that we're going to be announcing a contest at the end of the AI sprint where you can submit your AI workflows. The first prize is going to get a €100 gift card. We use this service. We could pick basically any kind of gift card you like, but then 12 months of End-to-End Cloud Pro for free. So I did the math. That's like €720 worth of work for automation. And we didn't talk about this on the team, but if you win, we can jump on a call and talk about your workflows, of course. In the next video, I'll have some more formal updates about that. But start building, and I haven't figured out exactly the judging criteria, but it's probably just gonna be what impresses me. And I'm pretty hyped up on these Siri use cases. So, if you know what's good for you, I would definitely recommend making at least one Siri template and submitting that. Anyhow, so that's uploaded. Duplicate that this weekend and build it out. For my Android peeps, I'm very sorry. I don't have an Android, but if it's possible in the Apple app, there's probably like 10 different apps that can do something like Shortcuts can on the Google side. If you figure that out, please share it with the community. If you record a quick little Loom video of how you do on Android, I'm happy to share that in the next update and show you some love. What's next? Let's have a look. I don't actually remember all this stuff, guys. I have notes. All right. Okay. And as a quick reminder, this weekend, the whole weekend, I'm hacking along with Marcel. We're at the AI Hackathon at Factory Berlin. And we're building, drumroll, a data scientist assistant. What does that mean? This is an AI agent that understands mathematics and statistics and complex product telemetry and can crunch insights for you. So you can see in my face as I talk about the scope of that, it's dawning on me what we've publicly committed to try and build, but it's the AI sprint, so we're gonna get it done. Of course, on the next vlog update, we'll have a nice little cut down of that. But if you're curious to follow along as we're building at the hackathon, I'll be posting more so on my Twitter and LinkedIn throughout the day. I'm probably also trying to get feedback from the community as we're building stuff. And there's another project that maybe didn't get as much fanfare, but this was the research paper assistant that I worked on with Oleg. So it takes an academic topic, finds academic papers on that topic and summarizes them. That template is out live and you can download it as well. It's currently on the project board. I haven't uploaded it to NNIO templates directory yet, but if that's a use case you're curious in checking out, that's available in the Notion project. And this is summarizing academic papers, but really any kind of like big document summary that you have to do, this is gonna be a pretty good pattern that shows how you would generally do that. So go check it out, even if you're doing sort of a business use case that has nothing to do with academic papers. This pattern still shows you how you can basically search large swaths of text, filter relevant texts and summarize them. But yeah, build. Like, just so you understand, even though it's a very simple template, the power of what it can do. From the Shortcuts app, you can magically get things like the location. You can ask the user to take a photo, front camera, back camera. They can take a video, they can do an audio recording. They could, you could remake Shazam, right? Like, what else? You can also capture voice from the user. You can show a modal and capture multiple form steps. There's conditional logic in there, so depending on the response, ask a follow-up question. Or for example, you could maybe have a flow where writes an email draft, sends the email draft to the user, they can quickly read it, and then they have a button to save it as a draft or send it directly.
Hi, Max. How are you?
Doing really well. Amazing job on everything you've done so far, the velocity of everything. And there was some surprising results. I ran it on a few sites and it was getting 8, 9 first-person emails across GitHub, Crunchbase, all these different sites. Really amazing job, man.
Thank you. To be honest, if not AI, it would not be possible, especially when it comes to the front end, because I'm not the proper coding developer. But yeah, great job on your side too, especially when it comes to implementing caching and amazing materials that I hope people will see on Product Hunt. Team effort.
So Oscar, what I propose for our agenda, because tomorrow is launch day on Product Hunt, and we got a few things we still got to do, which is probably pretty normal for a lot of Product Hunt launches. Let me share my screen and let's get into it. Here I've got launch to-dos. How are you doing? Any blockers, anything? Because I know you don't have a whole lot of time. You've already done a lot.
To be honest, no blockers on my side.
A few moments later.
So what's the potential if 2,000 people use it? Do you have any estimate of the cost?
It will be super cheap, I assume. So I don't expect to be like super like expensive thing, because I've been running those scripts like for my own private like purposes for many workflows, and I've executed it like hundreds of thousands of times. To be honest, those bills were never high, and hope they would stay that way. I think we can leave it on my Google Cloud platform and see what happens. But as mentioned, I have hard limits, even if consumption becomes crazy.
If we look at the to-do list, it looks like I haven't gotten much done, but I think it's my ADHD brain. I have all of these things are half done. So by end of day today, this is all checked off, and just expect for launch. I'm coordinating that with Jan, a CEO. He's got a bit of a profile on Product Hunt, so he's going to hunt this for us. I've got your Product Hunt account, so you and I will be made as the makers of it. A maker, it's very important, the first message that gets posted as well. I'm happy to handle that as well, because I'm handling all the other messaging. So basically at 9 a.m. when this launches tomorrow, I'll make sure at 9:01 that message is out there and everything. And obviously from the end-to-end team, be doing whatever I can on promo.
A few minutes later.
And I'm just wondering which is more high priority, which should I focus on? Because if I don't make both today, I should choose something to start with.
Great idea. Propose the CSS thing, because that affects
Okay.
every single user that will use this experience. The percentage of people wanting to clone the front end and the back end is going to be a small subset of that. I can add a note that, hey, the front end will be made public in a day or two. Check back here if you want it. I assume the Vercel app isn't the thing that they're really excited to figure how it works. It's like a high scraping solution.
Yes.
From day one. So I think that's a perfect prioritization.
All right. Sounds good.
What if we look at the workflow and you've explained it at a high level? Maybe what's going to happen at launch, we're going to get questions, and we can next week do a quick little follow-up or async, answer some specific questions people had on the solution. Now, maybe you share your screen and walk us through the flow.
Sure, we can do this that way.
Make sure you hide all proprietary, sensitive customer stuff before you.
Yeah, screen visible?
It's good now.
All right.
So, Oscar, we're in the N8N instance now where we're running emails. Could you walk us through this?
Sure. When it comes to the workflow that we have here, we start with the webhook node set to the HTTP post method. It basically sends us two data pieces. The first one is the domain that our user wants to research, and callback URL. So the specific URL generated by the server where we can send back the data to actually display the emails to the user, right? Here is the part that Max implemented. Before we even start researching, we are asking Supabase to check if such a query was made in the past, right? So in case like one user or many users queried the same website, come a bit faster, will be displayed a bit faster, right? Of course, when a result in a cache is being displayed to the user and sent to the front end, when such result does not exist in a cache, we have here the Brave search. It works similarly to the Google search. We query the specific domain. And next we have this firecrawl mode, which returns the data in like Markdown and HTML form. So basically this handles for us the scraping of the page.
How did you find working with it? Would you recommend it to users when they're trying to do sort of a scraping or crawling use case?
So I would say it's very easy to use, because this is basically like one endpoint when it comes to the scraping and one endpoint when it comes to the crawling. For this project, we actually use only scraping, visiting one website and returning it in HTML and Markdown format. But yeah, API is super simple to implement.
For our use case, specifically, how did you find Firecrawl? Because I know you've got quite some scraping background. So just compared to other scraping tools you've used over the years and that kind of.
So I would say it's like working very fine. Of course, it has its own policies. So when it's like encounters like LinkedIn page or YouTube page or any other social media, it will instantly return you an error that is against the policy. But for many other websites, it works very fine, I would say. And especially for this further flow, it's really great.
Fantastic. I think it's always curious because, there's the marketing side of a page and then you use it on a real project. And that's where you get the real insight on how useful a tool is for a use case.
And from this one, we have two paths. The first one is information extractor. And this path retrieves the email addresses using OpenAI model. Yeah, then we have like this email extractor, which returns the list of email addresses on a page. What is most important here in a prompt template, we have instruction in this node to also include those non-standard email formats, because sometimes those email formats are like, for example, in this format with between those square brackets, right? So this will handle this thing for us. And we have also the non-AI path, which includes the HTML code of the page. And we return here the data with a bit of JavaScript. It's not sophisticated, right? But in some cases, it returns data, which is also useful for the final output, right? Simultaneously, we are having here this AI agent, most probably the most advanced thing in this workflow. It has two tools. The first one is text tool, which returns to the agent the whole text from the page, right? And the second one is URLs tool, which returns from the same page else. In this case, so in such a way, this agent can go to this website, to the domain entered by the user, and navigate through this, searching for example, contact page, about us page, and so on, and retrieve the data from those. What's important when it comes to those tools, in this case, here is the example text tool. We are using here Puppeteer. This one is not Firecrawl, because otherwise we would hit rate limits very quickly. This is using Puppeteer, which is hosted on the Google Cloud platform, right?
Could you give us like a quick 2-sentence description of what it is and how you used it?
So Puppeteer is a headless browser. So basically you can instruct it what it should do on the website, for example, when it comes to the data retrieval, in very easy words, I would say. So basically I have here 2 Puppeteer scripts, and what it does actually in this case is visiting the website and is returning whole text from this page. You may be wondering why we use, for example, Puppeteer here and not like a simple HTTP call. So the difference here is that when we do the HTTP call, the JavaScript code is not rendered. In many cases, email addresses are hidden behind those JavaScript pieces. When we use the proper browser, Puppeteer in this case, and we are visiting this website, we can retrieve the data that is hidden and rendered by JavaScript. In this case, we increase the possibility of returning the data for our purposes.
A few inches later.
In such a case, error is being like in the whole workflow, and error workflow is being triggered. And this one is sending the callback information back to the user.
So on any error that you have in your workflow, the user will get a response?
Yes, there's set the error workflow.
Okay, guys, this is very exciting. As someone that like helps make n8n, I haven't heard of someone doing that before. That's amazing. But what Oscar has done is, because he's got this callback logic and he's sort of saving it in the workflow in the first step, he's able to pass that along to an error workflow, separate workflow based on any error in the flow, and the user will get a response. That's an amazing solution, because otherwise, if you use an error output branch, you have to predict what the error is to know to be able to send that back to the front end. Like in n8n, the error workflow would still fire, and you as the developer would get that message, but your end user wouldn't. Oscar, that's genius.
Thanks.
So, and then if it's not an error case, right? So we've got the one on the top, which is the Puppeteer version, on the bottom, the Firecrawl version. Basically, they both go do an attempt to find some emails, right? In the merge node, you're kind of deduplicating that and making sure that, we don't have duplicates of those. And then we're basically doing some little transformation, getting that data into one object and sending it back.
That's pretty much it.
And then the one last thing I'll add there is the last node in the workflow is the cache node, where we add this new generated record to the cache. Now, one thing I kept in mind, at first I had that before we send the response back, but then I had an error in the node, which quickly made me realize I'm interacting with Supabase. It's a third-party service. It could go down. It's far more important that our user gets a response than we get our cache set.
Absolutely.
So I added that step on the end, so empathizing with your users. That's where a bit of product mindedness can also help, even when you're designing workflows.
Absolutely.
So, Oscar, we got a few things to get done. So thank you so much for spending some time and showing this workflow off to the community. If you're seeing this video and you have more questions, Oscar is an n8n community member. Please do ask your question, because we'll have an opportunity in future to go into more of a deep dive if there's a lot of interest to go into this workflow. I think there's a lot of moving parts here. We just went over the high level. Oscar, thank you so much for your time. And here's to a successful launch of Email Spy.
Oh, to be honest, I'm looking very forward for tomorrow. So yeah, fingers crossed.
And then I'm gonna say this on camera because Oscar, I said I was gonna get a Flowgrammer t-shirt. I haven't made those yet. After the AI sprint, I'm gonna get 2 email spy t-shirts made. How does that sound?
I will wear them.
All right, so let's get building. Thank you so much, Oscar, for all your hustle. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you to Max for inviting me for this like amazing sprint. It was like really cool. There was like really cool like past few weeks, and yeah, keep it going.
Amazing.
Cheers, man. Bye.
12 seconds later.
Okay, let's talk models and AI stuff. So what's some things in the AI space that you're excited about?
Oh, so there's the new family of Quen models that just been released. It's Quen 2.5. They have various model sizes. So it's starting from 0.5 billion, I think, up to 72 billion. And they have them for many use cases. The most common use cases like coding, math, or general. I think this was just released yesterday, so I didn't have much time to really play with them. But they're generally very stellar models, a bit censored. Also, new Mistral model just came out yesterday, I think. So the Mistral Small, which is like 22 billion model, that's been available on the API. And now the new version is also available as open source, although the licensing there is not permissive for commercial usage, but also seems to be very capable model according to the benchmarks. Although with Mistral models, I sometimes struggle using them with the tool calling. They don't seem to be performing that well for a multi-tool task, where the model should be able to know that it should call a single tool more than once. They often call tool once and then try to give you the response even though the task is not finished. So yeah, new Cloud Opus model should come out, 3.5. And I think that's going to be very interesting.
One commonality between them is they're all smaller models. If we compare, I don't know, I think some months ago, the headlines would be around things like, oh, like 405B, how many billions of parameters? That was kind of the big headlines. I'm seeing now more, it's not about its absolute performance on a benchmark. It's the relative performance given its size, right? Look, this 7B model, look how well it did. It outperformed a 30B model. Would you say that's a trend of getting smaller models that are better at specific things? Or how do you see that landscape?
Oh, for sure. If technical means to train your own model for your use case, that's definitely going to be cost effective compared to using some larger model that is more general focused. But I still wouldn't use, for example, this 22 billion Mistral model. It's still not as good as some of the proprietary models like Cloud Sonnet. So it definitely has limitations. But if you train it for your own use case and you have enough data, it could outperform these larger models.
Now, speaking of fine-tuning, something I saw recently with Flux, right? Fine-tuning it on 10, 15 images of a specific person makes it a lot better at being able to render that person. That's the smallest sample size I've ever seen for fine-tuning. I always assume you need hundreds and thousands. And so the kinds of data where even if an organization has it, you got to make sure it's clean and typed. It's not really accessible for the average SME or the average individual. But seeing this Flux thing really challenged that for myself. Or I could see, even small e-commerce brands for a specific type of shoe have models that understand these kind of products and stuff and generating them, whatever. But to handle on what kind of, if I'm thinking for my use case, is fine-tuning useful? Is there any guidelines on like, if you don't have this level of data, don't even really consider it? To handle on the kinds of volumes of input data to make useful fine-tuning?
In most of these fine-tuning jobs, like you're not retraining the whole model. So you just, like for Flux, I think it's just a LoRa adapter that you train on top of that model. So just a few layers. That's why you don't need that as much data, because you're just tuning it, essentially.
And can you explain just real quick what LoRa is? I'm seeing this a lot. I don't really get it. Nope.
Me neither.
Okay. That's above our pay grade.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't need that much data. You don't need that much data. Even the OpenAI for the fine-tuning, they say if you have good 50 or 7 use cases, that should be theoretically enough to see significant performance gains.
Okay, very interesting. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. I'm sure it's not going to be the last time I ask you some questions. However naive they might be, but I think a lot of us out here today have a lot of these kinds of introductory questions as we think about this space. So I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
6.5 hours later.
When you're building any of these workflows, I've gotten some folks DMing me with individual workflow help. Being honest, It's probably the least efficient way for me to help you because I'm out here making these videos and programming. So if you get stuck on any template or anything that you're doing in n8n, go to community.n8n.io. It's the official community forums. We've got n8n team in there, developers and technical people that can help unblock you. We've also got community members around the globe who are super knowledgeable about n8n. You know, they've been using it for years. And the nice thing about the n8n community is you see this when you meet n8n community members in person. We're like, I don't know, there's like that nice, earnest energy, you know, like we're just a bunch of helpful nerds that want to help other people program. If you get stuck in anything, go ask a question there. I recommend don't DM me. 2 reasons: my mental health, and B, it's going to take a long time for me to respond relative to like all the awesome people on the community, and C, I might not know, like I'm not an expert at every single thing in n8n, but like we definitely have experts at all those things. But the biggest reason is, you know, you ask me a question, I answer it, and I'm probably gonna do that because I'm a nice guy. But the thing is, we can't mark that as a public solution, and others can't find that solution in the future. Our new AI co-pilot, Ava, which we're trialing out on n8n Cloud, and then later we'll deploy to all users, she gets smarter from every solution in the forum. By posting a question in the community forums, you're helping Ava get smarter over time, which helps everyone. Maybe not our competitors, but you know. So yeah, I'm Max. This is AI Sprint. You're awesome.
1 eternity later.
I've reached my limit of people giving me weird stares on the street because I'm walking down with a selfie stick camera. So that's all for this update. Thanks everyone for your support. Wish us luck this weekend at the hackathon. And we'll catch you next week for what's going to be some of the last days of the AI Sprint. I might get a little sentimental. I don't know if that's like emotional or just like exhausted. Exhaustible. So with all that mumble jumble of words being said, I'm Max. You're the Sprint Squad. This is the AI Sprint, and I'll catch you on the next update. Oh, and how could I forget? Once again, thanks everyone. I wake up every day with all these excited folks all saying, hey, in my free time, I set up n8n, I tried it out. There's this one lovely message that said, hey man, I've had n8n sitting on my computer for a couple years and your videos got me to actually open it up and get going. That's fantastic. It made my day. As you can imagine, made my boss pretty happy too. Thank you guys, making me look real good. No, but truly, maybe you can see it in my face. I'm not a professional actor, right? I'm just, you know, a flowgrammer. I guess online with anonymity, people can be such stakeholders. So it's truly awe-inspiring when someone in their busy day, especially some of you guys messaging me, you're kind of big deals. Your heads are this and that, and you still find the time to send me a lovely detailed message. I live for that shit. Thanks, guys.